Just first of all, how are things at the moment? It seems an almost redundant question to ask, but how are things?
With myself or with the team?
Yes, principally yourself and also with the team.
Yeah, I'm fine. Disappointed with the result last night, and obviously the run of results that we've had recently. But we're very determined to turn things around. I don't think it'll take that much. I think the players, just some aspects of the game are lacking a little bit of confidence, but it's nothing terminal here. We had a long chat after the game, and I've had a long chat with, Peter and Dermot Desmond today, and we're totally united, we're totally together, and we're totally determined that, we'll make this into a good season.
If confidence feeds on itself and you don't have to do anything when that happens, what do you have to do when lack of confidence feeds on itself?
Just, keep trusting the players, keep talking to them, keep believing in them, keep showing them what they're doing well, and maybe what they're not doing so well, we can do better. So it's not a question of, constantly hounding them or criticising. They're going to get that from, all quarters of, the media and social media anyway. What they need now is my support, my coach's support, and give them plenty of energy and plenty of belief that they're really good players. They proved that time and time again. And, class is permanent, form is temporary. That's what I believe in. I've always believed in that, and I think they'll come good sooner rather than later.
Jockstein once said that a manager can keep saying things, but sometimes players stop hearing. How would you know if that happens?
That's a really good question. It'll manifest itself, Roddy, as we go along. I do think it's at different times, and there's been a serious adjustment for some of them, unexpectedly so. Especially the new boys coming in. It's been a totally new environment for them, whether they've been living at home or in a different country. So we have to take all that into consideration, obviously. I didn't think 4-1, we deserved 4-1 defeat last night. For long periods of the game, particularly in the second half, we were superior and we played pretty well. And we had a couple of opportunities to equalise and go on to win the game. But it's just the way things are going for the players at the minute and for us.
Neil, you say you talk to Peter on a regular basis every day. Do you speak to Dermot every day? Was this a special phone call or a regular phone call?
No, I speak to Dermot, maybe twice a week. So I spoke to the two of them today on a Zoom call this morning, and we're trying to find solutions to what we can do better. Not just for the first team, but all around the club. And, it was a very productive conversation, and I have their full support.
Was that what you were calling? Was that what you were asking for, their full support? Or was this just a kind of normal phone call?
No, look, we're not happy with the way things have gone over recent weeks. And I am the head of the football department. I'm the face of the club, and Peter's the chief executive, and Dermot's the main shareholder. So, they've been with me since day one. And, through the good times, we're going through what would be perceived a bad time at the minute. And, they feel the need to offer up, suggestions, ideas, and vice versa from me.
How encouraging is it for you to have that support from those guys?
Hugely, but it's not surprising because of the relationship that I've had with them. Basically, as a player and a manager, in my first spell and certainly in my second spell. So it's very, very close. It's not as if they're not happy about things. There's no question. They're honest about things as well. But they've, they believe in me and I believe in them and I believe in the process.
Neil, I know you say you've been here before as a manager and as a player, but when there is some unrest from the fans, and of course that banner earlier in the week, how encouraging is it for you that Peter and Dermot are having those meetings with you and are saying that they're fully behind you?
Yeah, I'm delighted, and it gives me, a lot of confidence and sort of comfort, going through a difficult period, which all managers do, which all teams do, which all players do. So again, because it's such a high-profile year and it's at a high-profile club, you know, the criticism and the intensity and the scrutiny is magnified. And again, I don't think there's a million things wrong with the team. Some of them just, you know, feeling a little bit tentative, and that'll come back. You know, the more we play, Europe's gone now, which is a major disappointment for us, and the manner in which we've gone out is majorly disappointing, because we pride ourselves on good performances in Europe, which we did superbly last year. It's just really players played in Rome last year, started last night. I didn't think there was a million things wrong with the performance last night. We're just going through one of them runs where either the locks or the breaks or everything's going in and nothing's going in at the other end for us.
Given the result last night and the draw at Easter Road last weekend as well, how vital is it that the players give you and the fans a performance on Sunday as much as a result?
It's not a question of the players giving me a performance. It's a question of, you know, sticking together. All I want to see is a determination and a desire and a will to win. And we had a long chat after the game, which was really productive, I think. I'm not saying it's going to be a turning point by any stretch of the imagination, because I don't believe in that. I just believe that they will find their consistency and their qualities really soon. We have to now make real inroads on domestic duties. We're starting a defence of the League Cup, and you know, we want to progress into the next round and take it from there.
Neil, last night you talked about you thought there might be psychological problems with the team, something along those lines. Is there anything you can do as a manager to change or to help them? You know, with the current circumstance, obviously, pandemic and everything. What can you do as a manager, as a club, to kind of help the players and change that?
Well, we're trying to, you know, do some refitting here at Lennoxtown to create an area where they can, sort of like a lounge area, if you want to call it that, where they can relax after training. We don't have that amenity at the minute, and with the way things are, you know, the dressing rooms are split up. Yeah, you know, the eating times are split up, so sometimes they don't see each other than being out on the training ground, and that's a very difficult thing to do. So we are looking at, you know, different ways of trying to knit them all together in a obviously socially distanced environment, and sort of get to know each other and spend a bit more time with each other than what they're doing at the minute. So that's one area where we can sort of look to help them out with. And in terms of the psychological side of it, it's just confidence, you know, basically what I was touching on, really, you know, compared to, you know, the Europa one we had last year. There's just, I think a few of them are just lacking in a little bit of confidence at the minute. I thought for 35 minutes of the second half, we played really strongly and played some really good football and created some great chances, and it just didn't fall for us, and we got caught on the counter-attack when we had plenty of numbers back, which we should deal with better, and that's something that we have to look at, you know, certainly in transition and certainly on set players. We have to do things better.
Yeah, in terms of those defensive errors that kind of keep costing you recently, do you feel it's more individual errors, or is it more of the team as a whole, more of a systemic error?
It's a hard one to, you know, to gauge. You know, certainly there have been some, you know, serious individual errors that have led to goals. But, you know, the goal on the counter-attack last night, we had enough numbers, you know, back to deal with. You know, the set play, you know, Christopher's got the first contact, and we haven't dealt again with the second phase strongly enough. I don't know why, Gabriel, to be honest with you, because, you know, we're well drilled, and when we've dealt with the first phase, you know, that's the hard bit done, really. We should be able to see it out of our box after that, and we haven't. So I don't know if there's a little bit of anxiety there when it comes to defending corners or set plays. You know, we always conceded from a wide free kick, you know, just individuals not doing their jobs properly. And, you know, if we continue to do that, we're going to continue to concede goals, and we're going to have to score, you know, a barrel load of goals at the other end of the pitch. So it's, yeah, it's collective responsibility, but at times it's individual responsibility as well.
Neil, you mentioned psychology before, and I think you said that you were maybe going to try and bring somebody in to try and help the players or work with the players. Has that happened, or is that something that you might revisit now, given what you've said in the past couple of days?
No, that's happened. That's been in, you know, we've had a person at the club for the last 3 or 4 months now.
So is it working then, do you feel, or do you think more work needs to be done?
I think more work needs to be done, but this is all new, Luke. None of us have managed during a pandemic, and none of us have managed during these restrictions. I don't like managing in front of empty stadiums. Players don't like playing in front of empty stadiums. Players don't like going home when they're away from their country and spending hours at a time on their own. It's very difficult for them. So whilst I agree everybody is in the same boat, maybe, it's affected some clubs more than others, and it's certainly the case with us. We're doing all we can to try and affect that as best we can and make life and the culture and the atmosphere a lot easier. A couple of wins wouldn't go amiss. I think that would do everyone the world of good.
Given your discussions with Peter and Dermot, have they intimated to you that to really give this 10 in a row a go, that you will have further backing in January if you need the extra boost of a couple of new players to really give it a go?
Well, I mean, we're always looking at improving the squad anyway. So, this January will be no different. And that's something myself and Peter will discuss as we go along.
Is that something that the players have to be aware of as well, Neil, that Celtic want this so much that nobody's going to get in the way of it? If you need to bring in new players, is that the message maybe to the others, that make sure you're on your game more often and building that consistency, or you'll be looking elsewhere?
Look, that's a prerequisite when you come to a club like this, and that's been a prerequisite for the last 10 years. So the players don't need reminding of the responsibilities, from me or at the club, because, it's drilled into them from day one. Whether we're going for 10 or going for 1 or going for 7 or going for 12 or going for 30, every year the priority is the championship, and that doesn't change.
You mentioned the empty stadiums, and I was just wondering if that is a problem you've got in comparison to Rangers. Perhaps you've got a group of players who are inspired by a full stadium, while Rangers, because the lack of fans, they've had players who have felt the pressure of the fans before, but this time the pressure's off them, and that's maybe the problem you've got compared to Rangers. What do you think of that?
Well, I wouldn't make any comparisons with other clubs, so I can only tell you what my own group of players are feeling. They're definitely missing the atmosphere and the energy that we have home and away, and that's what a lot of players thrive on. And there's no question, it's not excuses or mitigating circumstances, that has been a huge loss to the group of players that we've had. What they've been used to over the years in terms of spurring the team on, demanding more of the team, or just creating that electric atmosphere. It's really interesting walking out. I was in the dressing room and I went out last night to do the BT broadcast, and we had music on in the dressing room, and then you walk out into the stadium, it's just complete silence. Going over to do the broadcast before the game, it's just even now it still takes a bit of getting used to.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, with the new players that have come in and foreign players, do you feel that is it proven more difficult to get them to buy into your philosophy? Perhaps they're not quite as au fait or have an understanding of what your achievements are in the past as a Celtic player and Celtic manager?
No, well, whether they understand what I've achieved in the game, it doesn't really matter. It's what they want to achieve in the game and what they want to achieve here. I think they're all well aware of the significance of what lies ahead for them this season. And like I said, there are times when we look at these guys as robots. They are human beings, and they do have, difficulties at the minute with life, being away from what they're used to and coming to a new country in the midst of a pandemic. And that's something I have to look after, the health and well-being of the players as well, not just as footballers, but also their life away from it. And some of them are finding it a little bit difficult, and a complete change from what they're used to. So we take all that into account. We know we can play better. They know they can play better. We had a long discussion as a group last night. We opened the floor up to the players. They made their opinions heard, and it was hopefully very productive when we get a response.
Is it awkward to make a team selection for Sunday? Because on the one hand, you might want to ask the same players who've got something to prove to go and do that. On the other hand, you've got other players you want to give time to.
Yeah, I'm not really giving that much consideration. We want to go with our strongest team possible. You know, these players, they always have to prove something. Every game, every day, you know, that's the life of being at Celtic. Every day you have to get up out of bed, look at yourself in the mirror and go, right, what have I got to do today? And you have to do that between now and the end of your career. And these players have done it and do it constantly. They're hurting. You know, they're not enjoying this one bit. They care, you know, despite what other people may think. You know, they're hurting. And all I want from them now is consistency of performance. I think they're not far away from getting that. It's been a difficult run. I'm not saying any game's easy, because psychologically they're all going to be difficult under the circumstances. But I think we'll come out of this stronger than ever.
I guess if not
on the you know, team selection that you mentioned there, we're nearly at December. Do you feel like you've had the chance to firstly pick your best 11, your first choice 11 players yet? And secondly, have you been able to consistently pick them so that that 11 can gel and play a system and a way of playing that they can take into game after game after game?
No, I haven't had that luxury at all this season. And, you know, with James being out for a concerted period of time, then, you know, I'm not going to have that luxury in that department either. You know, we've had COVID, we've had injuries. We've had players out for varying length of times. You know, Griff, he missed the game last night because of a knee injury. So, no, you know, it's been difficult to get consistency of team selection just with the way the season has been disjointed. So hopefully with this run of games, we've got a lot of games now coming through December, we can get some consistency of team selection.
Does that tap in perhaps to the psychological side of things that you were talking about, that as a, you know, your centre half, your central midfielder, you're looking to the side of you, and whilst these boys train together consistently, if they're not consistently playing with the same players, you don't have that sort of innate, you know, connection, that second.
Yeah, 100%. You know, so you look at the centre half situation. You know, you look at Chris Ayer being out for a while, Beaton having COVID, El Hamid having COVID, Julian having a back injury. You know, Shane was thrown in at the deep end. You know, all these things have been a factor in terms of having consistency of team selection. We haven't been able to do that in a really important position. Edward having COVID, you know, then Jamesy being out long term. So look, it sounds as if I'm making excuses. You asked me a question on whether I've been able to pick my best team on a consistent level, and the answer is no, I haven't.
And just finally from me, are you the type of manager that will be setting a target, a goal for the rest of the year, the rest of the month?
Yes. Yeah, I think from here on to the end of the month, we'll be talking to the players tomorrow, setting them targets for December. But I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Would it by any chance be win every game?
It'll be thereabouts, yeah. That would be lovely. That would be lovely.